Now get ready. Here we go.
What is going on, everybody? It is Arkham here. Back in mid-July, I posted a 5-year plan prediction that went from 2025 to 2029, which went through my predictions of what the park would go through in the next 5 years. And let's just say that whole plan is most definitely incorrect. But after hearing a lot of crazy news in regards to cause closure and all those other removals, the demolition of Lantern, had me thinking of wanting to redo this video once again. I will keep the old 5-year plan prediction on my channel so that you can go back and watch that and how abysmally off I was with that, might I add. But because of the crazy changes that we're already experiencing, means that these predictions are going to be even more crazier. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, that's why we're doing not a 5-year plan prediction, but a 6-year plan prediction. We're not covering 2025 anymore because we already know what's going to be there. We're going to be covering from 2026 all the way to 2031. That's the next 6 seasons of Great Adventure and what I think they're going to be doing. Why am I skipping 2025, you might add? That is because we already know what 2025 is going to have. It's going to be the opening of Flash Vertical Velocity, which is a brand new Vekoma Super Boomerang that was meant to open in the 2024 season, but because of major delays from the manufacturer as well as some other construction issues, they had to push it back. But without further ado, let's talk about 2026 onwards to 2031. Oh gosh, I'm getting too old for this. In 2026, they confirmed that the park is going to be getting a multi-record breaking launch coaster. However, the big question remains as to what roller coaster could this be. This could mean a lot of different coasters. This could be an Intimate Blitz. This could be any sort of family Vekoma coaster like Big Bear Mountain. But in this instance, I have to go with the 400-foot tower coaster from Mach to be the coaster for 2026. I mean, this coaster has been rumored to be Ka's replacement ever since Ka's been announced for demolition, and has basically been on the park's radar ever since releasing the survey back in August. This is certainly a coaster that many people have very different opinions on. I've already said my opinion on it many times before. I still don't think this is a good layout. It's a cool concept, but I just don't think that this ride is going to be enough to fully satisfy those that are avid Kingda Ka lovers and really are going to miss this ride, because they're going to see this ride and just think Kingda Ka. And I already see that they're going to get a lot of backlash if this ends up being the actual announcement for the park. But at the end of the day, change is inevitable, right? So I'm still going to stick with this ride anyway, being the 2026 multi-record breaking launch coaster and replacing the spot that Ka formerly stood on. In 2027, I don't think the coaster craze is going to be done yet. I predict that the next couple of years are going to feel like the early 2000s of Great Adventures history. If you don't know anything about the early 2000s of Great Adventures history, they basically got like 5 roller coasters in the span of like 5 years, which also included Kingda Ka, El Toro, I think Nitro was on that list, and a couple of other coasters that are very iconic to the park's history are basically created during this 5-year span. And I think that this sort of is going to follow in the same timeline a little bit. And I think in 2027, they're going to look to Green Lantern's replacement here with the addition of a Vekoma tilt coaster. I think they're going to go back to Vekoma here because I think Flash is going to be a huge hit for the park. As Vekoma has really stepped up their game big time, they're getting Siren's Curse at Cedar Point, which is what's being shown to you now. I mean, this is literally the perfect replacement for Green Lantern. It's right at the front of the park. It's sort of like an oh my god coaster when you just see like a whole train just detaching from the very top and tilting down to another set of track. It is one of the most intimidating sights you probably could ever get in an amusement park. I mean, this is one of the craziest coaster types out there, and I feel like that this would be a fantastic replacement for Green Lantern. On top of this, I also believe that this will be the final year of operation for Medusa. I do think Medusa is going to close down at the end of this season of 2027 season to make way for what I think will be replacing it in 2028. In 2028, I think is going to finally be the arena replacement as well as Medusa. They're going to use both of those spots to create the ultimate Intamin Blitz roller coaster. Holy moly, you guys. I feel like Great Adventure has just been destined to get this roller coaster type at some point. I had a feeling ever since that Quantum Accelerator was announced for Six Flags New England that they would finally jump on the Intamin bandwagon again, and Intamin has been red hot ever since Velocicoaster, and rightfully so. This would be an amazing roller coaster to come to Great Adventure in all the different kind of ways. I mean, you have Pantheon and Tutatis at their respective parks that have been just absolutely fantastic for them. Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure made it an absolute destination. And then Batman Gotham City Escape in Madrid. I mean, come on, you guys. This type of roller coaster will revolutionize the lineup that Great Adventure has. And they still have one of the best coaster lineups out there. Yes, they lost a stand-up. Yes, they lost Kingda. But they still have a fantastic lineup. This is just another roller coaster just rounded out even more. It can have multiple launches. It can have a ton of inversions. They can make it have a top hat, which is now something that is missing. So, huge opportunity with this roller coaster. And this type of ride is going to be an absolute people eater. I'm telling you, people will flock to the back of the park just to ride this thing over and over again. And that's something that Medusa has severely lacked, and why I think that an Intamin Blitz is an absolute perfect replacement for Medusa. And that's what I think is going to replace that in the arena in 2028. In 2029, I think they're actually going to take a little bit of a break from roller coasters, but they're going to focus still on the thrill seekers a little bit, as well as the families. I think they're going to be looking a little bit more towards the center of the park for this next set. For starters, I think by the start of 2029, you will see the entire removal of Daredevil Dive. I don't think that ride's going to last. They removed a bunch of the other rides from like Cedar Point had theirs and they got theirs removed. So I could see Daredevil Dive eventually getting taken out very soon, but we'll have a replacement for that, and I'll mention that in a second. On top of that, I think the whole entire back area with all those random trees that just are there for nothing, I think they're actually going to use that for a couple of family rides as well, just to round out that whole area back there and add something new in that vicinity. So in 2029, I think they're going to be adding a couple of things. Number one, I'm gonna predict that they're gonna be adding finally a Zampero and Nebulas. I think that a Zampero and Nebulas is a wonderful flat ride, really good for the families, and also some stuff with the thrill seekers as well. So it's a very, very eye-catchy sort of flat ride that I think could go really, really well towards the front of the park, right by Joker. As well as I think that they will have the room to replace Daredevil Dive and sort of mimic Daredevil Dive a little bit by adding the world's tallest SNS Scream and Swing to counter against Twizzlers Twisted Gravity at Hershey Park. I think right on the Daredevil plot of land, they could put in this SNS Scream and Swing, and it would still mimic the idea of what Daredevil Dive was trying to accomplish, but now more people could do it, and you don't have to charge for it. I think this is like the perfect replacement for Daredevil Dive, because it sort of still gives the idea that this ride's still kind of there. I think if they want to still call it Daredevil Dive, by all means, I mean, they still could. But I think that that's just the perfect replacement. SNS Scream and Swings are some of the best thrilling flat rides out there on the planet, and it would be the perfect replacement for Daredevil Dive. I also see them adding maybe some other like a Zampero Disco, maybe back along where that open strip of grass is. They could add another flat ride there. I still think like a family flat thrill ride flat package is what the park needs. After losing Zumanjaro, after losing Twister, now they're lacking the thrilling flat ride department. We'll have a replacement for Zumanjaro a little bit later on the list, but I think right now that they're going to prioritize adding in these rides to sort of be a transition for what 2030 and 2031 is going to eventually offer. I also think this is the year, at the end of the season, that they are going to officially close the Joker for good. And I think Joker is going to be done primarily because I just don't see anybody going to this ride for any sort of reason. I think that just take out Joker, take out Harley, and then we'll have a pseudo replacement for that a little bit down the road. At the turn of the decade in 2030, I think the park is going to do a little bit more with the flat ride packaging as well as some ride reorganization, which means that they're going to not necessarily remove rides, but I think this is where they're going to start moving rides around. And that primarily is going to start here in the lakefront. The lakefront is just absolutely in disarray. They have like 4 rides that are just along the back stretch that I'm 90% sure they don't want to keep right there. I think they're going to be moving these rides around. For example, Harley Quinn is one of those rides where I think that they could relocate to another part in the park that would just be a better fit for it. They could remove it, but I just don't think it'll just stay there. It's just not a good spot for it. Buccaneer, another ride that they could easily relocate. I don't see them ever removing the Buccaneer for any reason whatsoever, but just right there, like especially outlooking the outside fence perimeter, I don't see that happening. They'll probably relocate that somewhere else in the park. As well as Jolly Roger, which honestly, if they were going to take a ride out from the lakefront, it probably is going to be this one. I don't necessarily know what they would do with it. I just don't think that having these 3 rides along the back are going to be beneficial. So in 2030, I'm going to say that this is where the lakefront is going to get reorganized, and they are going to be removing Skull Mountain at the end of the season to prepare for the 2031 next roller coaster. So this is my thought process on the lakefront right now. You have the Skyway Station, so that could be like a replacement for another ride. You could maybe even put the Buccaneer in that area as well. I think that would be a great spot for the Buccaneer to put right there. But they could also put a whole nother flat ride there, which also would not be, I would not mind that one that much at all either. There's also quite a bit of some other empty spaces that when you get closer to the Pine Barrens, they could relocate some of the rides over there. I've always seen like Jolly Roger maybe going right next to Devil for a little bit, or kind of joining into Junior Thrill Seekers, being like the replacement for Air Safari if that gets moved. Just sort of things like that to kind of fix up the lakefront. I think the lakefront in 2030 is going to be the next big area that gets a major change up. I think after the removal of Joker, it's really going to be quite a barren wasteland there. I also think that Harley, if they don't remove it and they want to keep it, I could see them re-theming it back to Blackbeard's Lost Treasure Train and just sort of bringing back that liveliness of that area a little bit more. And obviously with Skull Mountain going away in 2031, we will have a true replacement for its lakefront coaster here in 2031. In 2031, after they clear out a majority of the lakefront and do a massive renovation to it, I think they're finally going to add a roller coaster that will truly make the lakefront supreme of an area to go to, and I think this is going to be where they bring in the GCI Woody coaster. I think a GCI over a Gravity Group is priority number 1. They have a Gravity Group that's up north, that's Bobcat and Six Flags Great Escape. I don't think they're going to want to bring one down that's not too far off. I think a GCI Woody is absolutely perfect. In the style of Mystic Timbers, I think it would be fantastic if they did this, especially if the lakefront renovation includes something similar to what Cedar Point has with their boardwalk area and that massive building that's in the back that replaced Wicked Twister. I mean, you're looking at what could be a very photogenic roller coaster. It could go right across the lake and come right back. It could go across the backside and go to the other side of the lakefront and come back. There's so many fantastic possibilities with the GCI Woody that they could do, and I'd really like to see them explore those opportunities. They have the whole lake to use to their advantage, and I'd love for them to try to do something with that in the GCI Woody. It's a great replacement for Skull Mountain because you already know that the GCI Woody is going to be a people eater, as Skull Mountain was as well, and just a massive plethora of fun are those Woodies. They're also very smooth and, from my knowledge, insanely reliable. So great roller coasters and a great way to make the park coaster collection round out even more. So yeah, my prediction for the next 6 years is to literally have 4 roller coasters plus flat rides and a whole area revamp in a matter of 6 years. And you know what? It's very possible that that could happen. that's going to do it for today's prediction video, 6-year prediction video from 2026 all the way to 2031. This is such a huge far stretch video, especially since I'm basically redoing a video that I did over the summer to now, especially with all of the breaking news that we had just gotten about Great Adventure and the removal of all these rides. It's going to take a really long time for him to bring back that reputation and earn people's trust back, but I think we just got to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we would a roller coaster. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Always thank your ride operators. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the parks real soon. Goodbye.
Here we go.